Mix 1041 and MixTV.tv. We are joined by our friends Jay and Brittany Hagee with Allon Planning Partners. So glad to have you guys in the studio with us today.
Bridget, great to be here.
Good morning.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, so for today, I know that you guys are the hosts of the Allon Exchange radio and TV
That's
programs.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I thought for today, we're going to take some questions that you guys have received from your listeners and your viewers, and then you guys be able to provide answers to these questions. So here is the first one. This one says, I've listened to you all on your radio show and your TV show for quite a while now, and I really do feel that I need a financial plan, but honestly, it seems a bit overwhelming to me, and I don't know where I should even begin. So if I set an appointment with you, what are some of the questions that I should be asking that would ensure that I'm on the right path to financial security?
Well, that is a great question, and you're not alone in that question. A lot of times we get folks that come in and they're like, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be asking, right? And so we've tried to simplify that process for anyone that comes in and meets with us for the first time. We want to make sure that you are asking the right questions. So the way that we do that is we try to get you to ask the who, the what, the where, and the why of financial planning. And so we may just take a few minutes and break that down for our listeners this morning to kind of give you a little bit of insight on if you come and see us and sit down with us, or whoever's doing financial advising for you, that you're asking these questions and getting direct answers for. The first one is, who is giving me financial advice? That's really personal about us and who we are as financial planners, how we're licensed. You can have many licenses in our industry. You want to make sure that the person that's giving you financial advice is working on the same side of the table as you, and not just trying to sell you a financial product. So it's real important for you to ask that question, for you to say, who is giving me financial advice and how are you licensed? You know, what's your education background? You know, how long have you been doing this? So really you want to make sure that that person is an independent fiduciary advisor, meaning that they only work for you, the client. They don't work for a big brokerage house or a big retail box firm, that they're actually working for you as a client. So the first question you want to ask is, are you a fiduciary? Are you someone who is working for my best interest on my behalf? We are set up as independent fiduciaries, as Allon Planning Partners. And so we want to ensure anyone that walks in, we're not afraid to answer that question, because we are licensed only in a way where we can serve and give you advice and work on the same side of the table as you. So you want to make sure whoever's giving you financial advice is the same way and they're set up and licensed as a fiduciary. Yeah. And so after you know the who, you want to know the what, right? What am I being invested in? You know, how are my funds being invested? What kind of advice are you giving me? And so the way we do it is we break it down and show you all 5 asset classes, because whether you have cash, stocks, which are, you know, equity in companies, bonds, which are buying the debt of the government, which may or may not be a great thing right now, but you have bonds, you have commodities, which are things like gold and oil and wheat and things like this, and then real estate. Those are the only areas that you can invest in. Warren Buffett says, you know, investing is simple, but it's not easy. The reason it's simple is you only have 5 things that you can invest in the world, and that's real estate, cash, commodities, stocks, and bonds. That's it. But there are so many different vehicles, and that's what makes it not really an easy process. So we want to break down for every person who walks in our office an individualized plan so that they know exactly what they're invested in and how it's getting them to their financial goals. So we walk through a very simple process that shows you, here's every vehicle, here's every asset class that you have to invest in. What should you be investing in now in order to get to the financial goals that you have? So once we've answered those 2 questions, things kind of clear up a little bit. So the first question is, how do we get paid, and who are we, and how do we give you financial advice? And then what are you actually being invested in? That's the first 2 things that folks should be asking whoever their financial planner or advisor is. And then there's 2 more, so we'll just keep breaking those down.
The next big one is why. Why am I invested the way I am? So there's certain strategy in investing in different types of investments, why you use certain vehicles versus others. So depending on what your purpose with that money is will determine the best way to invest for that, right? So that's a big question to be asking. Why am I invested the way I am? And I know that it can feel, the question specifically said that it's overwhelming I know I need a financial plan, but all the different components you guys talk about, it can feel overwhelming. And that's where we come in, though, to lighten that load. It doesn't have to be overwhelming because you don't have to go it alone. We walk you through it step by step. It's not just this free for all. You have to come in and tell us 1, 2, 3, ABC. No, we will guide you through that. We have questions, we have prompts that we will initiate to walk you through the process so that you don't feel overwhelmed. And it is just one step at a time. You know, we have some families that we're walking through this onboarding process, of course, just right now. And there's an initial meeting, there's a second meeting, there's a third meeting, there's a fourth meeting, and it's over weeks and weeks, right? So there's time. It's not this rush thing. There's time and there's space to be able to process it, to ask questions as they arise, to learn, to become educated, to understand it more. And we'll guide you through it. There's no pressure. There's no heaviness through it, right? We want to lift that load, not make it more.
That's right.
So that's really where we come in to lighten that and to simplify what can feel so overwhelming and complicated.
And one of the last basic questions that folks want to know, which is a very important one, especially if you're working for an independent advisor, is where is my money being held? Where are my funds? You want to make sure that you're not writing your financial planner your IRA check, right? You want to make sure that it's held at a third-party custodian.
Right.
And we use a third-party custodian that is well recognized and understood by our clients, that we do not hold funds for them, but that we use a third-party custodian, so that way there's no conflict of interest, right? So once we answer these few basic questions about who we are and who we are as giving them advice to them, what their funds are being invested in, where their funds are being held, and why they're doing that, why the advice that we're giving them is going to get them to their financial goal, it tends to click. So it's okay that you come in and you do not, initially know the questions to ask. We try to provide those for you. And over, a decade of working with folks and hundreds of families sitting down, we've formulated a process that we understand. Here's all the basic questions that most people are going to have. And so it's okay if you sit down with us and you don't know exactly what to ask.
Right.
We're going to give you those questions and make it easy. So we would love to sit down with you and your family. If you are listening out there and you're like, you know what, I haven't thought about any of those questions that you just brought up, we would love to offer an opportunity for you to sit down with us. You can call us 423-315-1441 or at allonplanning.com. That's ALLON planning.com, and schedule a complimentary consultation. We would love to chat with you about the who, the where, the what, and the why of financial planning and how it relates to your financial goals.
Right.
We're talking with Jay and Brittany Hagee with Allon Planning Partners, also hosts of the Allon Exchange radio and television program. So we are going through questions. This is actually going to be a series. We're going to have several questions that have been brought up by listeners and viewers, and they are here to answer those questions. So stay tuned for the next one. Again, it's Jay and Brittany Hagee with Allon Planning Partners. Again, their number 423-315-1441 and online at allonplanning.com. And we are already looking forward to the next one. Jay and Brittany, thank you so much
Thanks
for coming
for having
in today.
us.
Thanks, Bridget.
Investment advisory services are offered through Foundations Investment Advisors, LLC, Foundations, an SEC-registered investment advisor. The content provided is intended for informational and educational purposes only. The views, statements, and opinions expressed herein are those of the individual speakers and not necessarily those of Foundations and its affiliates. The information contained herein does not constitute an offer to sell any securities or represent an express or implied opinion or endorsement of any specific investment opportunity, offering, or issuer. Any discussion of performance or returns is not indicative of future results. Each individual investor's situation is different, and any ideas provided may not be appropriate for your particular circumstances. Foundations only transacts business in states where it is properly registered or is excluded or exempted from registration requirements. Registration as an investment advisor is not an endorsement of the firm by securities regulators and does not mean the advisor has achieved a specific level of skill or ability. No legal or tax advice is provided. Always consult with a tax professional. All rights reserved.